Hello everyone. Welcome to a Facebook Live with Dara Walter of Pickled Peppers Creative Cafe at pickledpepperscreativecafe.com. Today is Thursday. It is April 8th, Thursday, the day that I come to you and get crafty. So, welcome. Come on into my world. Let me get crafty with you. Thank you so much for being here. So, we're going to chat for a little bit and I'm going to get set up as we do so. But thank you so much for being here. How are you? How are you? Are you having a fantastic Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Eve? Let's turn on my little monitor here so that I can see what I'm showing you. I see that Beth is here today. Hi, Beth. Hello. I see my friend Marie and my friend Anna. Hello, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Hi. Happy Thursday or happy Friday Eve. Hello, hello. How is everyone? Is everyone doing good? Well, welcome. You know what? I am having a fantastic day. You know what? I'm having a really fantastic day. Let me tell you something. Today, I work from home. So I was able to, for about an hour this morning, go outside and enjoy the nice weather. I was actually able to sit out on my deck and have my coffee and work at the same time. So it was just after the sun came up, the birds were chirping, the breeze was nice. I had on a hoodie. It was just a little chilly in the morning, but it was so beautiful. Thank you, thank you. It was so beautiful. And so I stayed out for about an hour. I get a lot of phone calls on my job, like anywhere between 50 and 150 per day. So I couldn't stay out too long. I stayed out for a little bit, probably about an hour, and then I had to come back inside. And that was the hardest part because it was really sunny and very beautiful. So I hope you guys have been able to enjoy some of the good weather that we've been having lately. I'm super excited about it. So let's do a crafty check-in. Has anybody been crafty this week? Has anyone had a chance to get crafty at all this week? Oh, you guys, let me tell you something else that happened. I got a return Christmas card in the mail today. I had the address a little bit wrong, and it was returned to me today from December, and I mailed it out. And actually, Beth, it was your Christmas card. It came back to me today. So I was so surprised. I thought, what in the world? No, it came yesterday. So really, really crazy to think that we're into April now and we're getting returns. So Beth is always crafty. My friend Julie, she's crafty quite a bit, and she organizes. Her and my friend Amy organize quite a bit. And so I'm sure that they've been doing some of that. I'm always amazed by them. Beth, I'm always amazed by you. You are able to get crafty always. So I'm super excited about that. I see Carla is watching. Carla, this may be your first time. Welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Thursday is the day that I like to come and do a crafty project. It does a whole lot for me. For one, it allows me to share with you my passion, and then it keeps me accountable to creating, and it lets me share with you guys. So I am always so excited to be here. It is one of the highlights of my week, and you guys are amazing for showing up. And yeah, one of my favorite times. So thank you so much. Oh yes, Beth, you have loads of you have loads of time because you're retired. I'm gonna be you one day. Yes, welcome, Carla. I'm so glad that you could make it. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get turned down. Today I have a super cute card, and I am using 2 different stamp sets. One is retiring, so I wanted to show it to you, and it's a background stamp. So I wanted to, if you've not used a background stamp before, I wanted to kind of let you see how that goes. So let's go ahead and get you turned down and we'll get started. Okay, here we go. Last week, do you guys remember last week, right towards the end of my live, my phone flipped out of the holder and we went for a tumble. So I'm gonna try not to let that happen this week. I'm glad you guys are okay. You showed up again, so thank you guys so much. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, I think we're okay here. Let me just tighten us up because I want to make sure, if I can help it, we stay locked in. I'll do my best. So if you're watching live tonight, say hello. Let me know in the comments. If you're watching the replay, let me know that too. Or just say hi if you want to. Your comments and your likes and hearts actually keep me going. They motivate me to continue to come. It lets me know that you like to be here just as much as I do. So I super appreciate it. You guys know that. Also, if you do comment, I can't always, when I'm creating, I can't always see your comments, but I promise I will go back after the live and respond, or if you have questions, I will do that as well. And then also, after the live, I try to do it the night of, sometimes the next day, I'll go back and modify the description and put the directions down or the dimensions on the projects that we make. And that way, if you want to go back and make them, you can visit the live again and recreate it yourself or a version of it. And if you do and you tag me, that would make my heart super happy. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. I see my friend Amy is watching. Hi, Amy. Happy Friday Eve. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to move my trash can over a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the products that we're going to be using today. I told you I was using 2 stamp sets. I am going to be using the Sweet Strawberry, and if you guys stamp with me, you have seen this once before. I think when it first came out. It's one of my favorites. I love it, but you know, I don't know. I equate strawberries with like a nature kind of country thing, and so I like it anyways. So we're using that, and I have paired it together with a background stamp called Buffalo Check. Let me tell you guys that the Buffalo Check is going away. It's still available until I think May 3rd, if supplies last, but it's Buffalo Check, and it's a background stamp. The reason that I love background stamps, or stamps in general, and ink and paper, sometimes you'll hear me or Stampin' Up! Refer to it as SIP, S like Sam, IP like Paul, SIP, and it's an acronym for stamps, inks, and paper. But if you have those stamps, inks, and paper, you can create all kinds of things. You can make your own background paper, designer series paper, which we're going to be doing tonight. I'll give you a little sample of that, but I love this for that reason. And you know what? Looks like Farm Girl, and you guys know that I like the Farm Girl. The Farm Girl thing. I think I used to live on a farm. Okay, here's the card that we're going to be making tonight. Doesn't this look like the label on a jar of preserves, of strawberry preserves? I love it. And if you look, you can see the Buffalo Check in the background. Here is where we're going to sample our designer series paper. This card has a lot of little pieces, so it'll take us a little bit to recreate it. It's super easy, but I wanted to let you know that it does, there are a lot of little pieces to this card, as you can see. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, and I'll tell you what we used. So I have a scrap each of basic white, and I'm going to bring in another one because I think we might need more, of basic white and Pear Pizzazz. That's what that color is. So it's just a scrap, and I cut it in a strip on purpose, and I'll show you why in a little bit, to make it easier when we do our punching. And we're going to do some punching. Actually, the Sweet Strawberry stamp set comes with a strawberry punch. It has the berry, and it has the, I don't know what you call this. What do you call this? Does anybody know? It's like the crown. It's the little, the crown. I don't know what to call it, but it looks like a crown to me. So that's what I'm going to call it. And then it has the little flower. Strawberries are flowering plants, so there's a little flower, and then the leaf is on there. And I think we used them all. We didn't use the flower. Let me tell you guys something. Last week's little flower punch, we're using that as well because it coordinates here. So, and as a reminder, this little flower punch is going away. So if you don't have one, get one. You'll use it lots, I promise you. And then we have a couple of ovals, one in basic white and one in the Pear Pizzazz. We have a piece of basic white that is 3 3/8 by 2 3/4. We have a piece of Poppy Parade that's 3 by 4. We have another basic white that's 5 1/4 by 4. No, it's 5 by 3 3/4. And then we have a Pear Pizzazz that is 5 1/4 by 4. And then we have our Poppy Parade card base, and it again is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. Makes a standard A2, A4 size card, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, whichever it is, A2 or A4. I get those mixed up. All right, so let's go ahead and start by burnishing with our bone folder our card base so that we have a nice flat card that stays closed when we're done with it. So we'll use our bone folder for that. And then let's go ahead and do our stamping. Let me bring the card back in so you can kind of follow along, and I can use it as a cheat sheet. So I'll put it right there. Can you guys see that okay? Okay. So let's start with our stamping because there is a little bit of stamping, and I think we will start with, let's start with our embellishments first. So let's go ahead and make the strawberries and the flowers because there's a little bit of stamping involved there. Now I've gone ahead and mounted my photopolymer stamps ahead of time because I was using them. So I went ahead and left them on the blocks. And because it's photopolymer, remember there's no cushion there. So we're going to need a little bit of cushion. So I have my very loved Stampin' Pierce mat and a piece of grid paper. So let's start with the strawberries. Here, let's put my little pieces aside so I don't lose them. You guys know when your desktop gets busy, sometimes things get buried. I don't want to do that. I want to impress you guys, and I want you guys to think that I'm all together all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that. That's unrealistic. I want you guys to know that I goof up too. So all right, so I'm going to bring in also an extra piece of grid paper to stamp off with. And to start with the strawberry, I'm going to use Poppy Parade ink. Let's bring it over here. And I'm going to ink up. The strawberry comes with an outline. Can you see that? And a solid. So I'm going to start by inking up the solid, and then I'm going to get rid of some of the ink. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want the outline to show up. Let's bring this up here. I want the outline to show up really good. And I'm afraid if the colors are too close, because I'm using the same color ink, that you won't be able to see the outline very well. So I'm going to take away some of the excess ink. And I'm gonna go ahead and stamp the strawberry. And then I'm gonna turn my strip around and repeat the same process. Let's put this up here there we go. And we'll do it again. That way I can punch on both ends of my strip here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is ink up the background, or the outline, I'm sorry. And I'm just gonna kind of hover over it. I don't care if I'm exactly perfect. I think if it's not exactly perfect, it looks a little more artistic. That's just my opinion. It doesn't have to be, but for me, that's what I think. I got a little glue on there. That's what that's sticking to. Okay, and then full ink, we're gonna stamp it again. There we go. So that's kind of what it looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in our stamp, or our punch, and I'm going to punch upside down so I can kind of center my stamped image where I need it to be. If you've never seen a Stampin' Up! Punch too, did you notice how it has that little lock on it? So it actually clamps together, and you slide the little lock up, and it's for storage. It stores like that. Isn't that kind of cool? Okay. So let's go ahead and make our 2 punches. Just kind of line it up here, punch it out. Oh, I'm punching the leaves too. That's okay. And we'll do it again. All right, let's get rid of all of my waste pieces, and then we'll do the leaf. And the leaf is quite the same, except we're not going to use the Poppy Parade because we want green leaves. So let's put this aside. We're actually going to use Pear Pizzazz. And you know what? I'm going to cut the ends off here, or at least one of the ends. There we go. All right, so let's bring in our leaf, and it is just like the strawberry. There's an outline, and then on the other side I have the solid. So we'll do that in Pear Pizzazz, and remember, I'm going to, let's put these aside so we don't lose them. So remember, I'm going to stamp the solid first after I take away a little bit of the excess so that the outline shows up pretty good. So we'll stamp off once, and then let's see. Okay, yeah. And then let's do it one more time for the second leaf. Stamping is really fun. It's kind of, I don't know, it's relaxing, peaceful. Okay, and then let's go ahead with our outline. We'll do that one full tilt. We're not going to take away any of the excess. The process of taking away some of the excess ink when you're stamping like this is sometimes called stamping off. So if you hear someone say that, that's what they mean. They mean you've inked up your stamp, you've stamped off some of the excess ink, and then you stamp it the image where you want it to be. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as second generation. You might hear me say both of them. I do use the terms interchangeably. So you may hear me say stamp off, and you may hear me say second generation, but I'm referring to that process where you get rid of a little bit of the excess. Okay, so there are our leaves. Aren't those fantastic? I love them. I love the detail on them. You have to have veins on your leaves in order for them to look realistic, right? So I love that. Let's go ahead and punch both of them. All right, and let's set these aside so we don't get them buried in our creative pile. Creative chaos. How about that? That's a good term, huh? Creative chaos. That happens on my desktop a lot. I don't know about the rest of you creatives, but I have a hunch that it's probably the same with you. Okay, so let's see. So we have stamping to do here. We're going to stamp the little flower, and I've already gotten those mounted up, so let's bring them in. I'm going to keep using this piece of basic white. I want to call it Whisper White. Our white used to be Whisper White, but we have a new company now that makes our white for us, so it's called Basic White. And I am so accustomed to Whisper White. You may hear me say that, but our white ink is actually called Basic White. A Craft-A-Lanch? Yes, I love it. Craft-A-Lanch is good, Amy. I love that. That's exactly what happens in my creative space. But I embrace it. You know what? When it happens, that's exactly what I think. I think to myself, I am being extra, extra creative. This means I'm a professional, kind of like when you see a mechanic with oil all over his shirt, right? Okay, so the same concept with the flowers. There's an outline and then there's a solid. So the ink that I'm using here is Coastal Cabana. And I am going to do a second generation stamp. And we're going to do it twice. It's kind of light, but that's okay. I want it to be lighter so that the background shows up pretty good. You know what? Let's go ahead and swap these right out. How about we do that? We'll take off that excess. Okay. And then we're going to go full tilt, and I'm just going to kind of hover over the top and stamp down. Whoa, it's off a little bit. I was kind of worried there because I can't see it exactly as well as I want to. Okay, not too shabby. Not too shabby. And we're actually going to use this. So let's do our last bit of, well, let's go ahead and punch these out. We'll do our last bit of punching. So I'm turning it upside down again so I can see where I'm punching. You guys, I am going to be so sad when I can't use this little flower on your projects. I love this little punch. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, there is that. Let's get rid of some of our scraps here. Okay. I'm not sure if I gave you the dimensions for this, but remember that I will modify the description above. But we have a piece of basic white that is 3 3/8 by 2 3/4. So we are going to stamp on this, and then we will cut it into 3 even pieces in the horizontal or landscape position. So let's go ahead, and this is our last bit of stamping other than the sentiment. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way, and I'll show you how we did that. So the outline that we used for the little flower that we have here, I'm going to randomly stamp this outline all over this piece of cardstock using first the Pear Pizzazz. Let's close up our Coastal Cabana so it doesn't. I have my fan on, so I don't want to dry it up. All right, so we're just going to randomly stamp the flower. You know what? This is actually, this process that I'm doing now, this is what got me hooked on Stampin' Up. Years and years ago, when my baby, who is now 20 years old, when he was a baby, I went to it was a scrapbooking expo over in Grand Rapids. I had never heard of Stampin' Up or any stamping company for that matter. And I went to this expo, and the lady in the booth was making like page banners that she stamped on, and I thought she was using letters, and I thought, wow, that's really smart. I wouldn't have to buy letter stickers anymore. If I had stamps that were letters and inks, I could just make all of my own banners and headers in whatever colors that I want. I was so intrigued with that. That was in 2001 or 2, somewhere in there. And look, here I am, 2021. I'm still here. Okay, I did take a break from Stampin' Up for a few years, but then around 2011, I was back at it. All right, so the next flower we're going to use there's a smaller flower, and it is solid. So we're going to go ahead and use the Coastal Cabana and just randomly stamp the Coastal Cabana, kind of filling in some of the open spaces. Just randomly. There's no real method to it. I'm kind of, in some places, I'm stamping off of the side of the paper because I want it to look really random. And when you feel like it looks good, like you want it, you can be done with that. And then there's one more. It's the outline for the little one that I just used. And we're going to stamp this with Poppy Parade. So let's go ahead and bring in the Poppy Parade. And then in the same fashion, since the Poppy Parade is a red, I'm not going to make as many stamped images with that color because it can take over. It's bold enough in itself because it's so dark. I think if I did a whole lot of them, it would take over the design. So I'll just kind of sprinkle them around, and let's do one more right here. Okay, one more. Indecision. Oh my gosh. All right, there we go. So this is what I am left with. It's a trio of the colors that I used for the strawberry. That's what that is. All right, and then our final bit of stamping, we're going to use black memento. If you don't have black memento in your stash, I recommend that you get it. Black memento, if you have it, you will use it a ton. You will use it a ton. Let's go ahead and ink up our sentiment. And I have a basic white oval and then a Pear Pizzazz oval to back it with. I'm going to go ahead with the black memento and use the sentiment in the center. There we go. We can put that to the side. All right, you guys, that was a lot of stamping. I told you, didn't I? But I think we're done. So let's go ahead and move that out of the way, and we can get on with a little assembly. So before we do, there are two things that I'm going to do. Remember the crown, we need one of those for each of the strawberries. So I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of Pear Pizzazz and slide it in the punch. And we're going to punch 2 crowns. Did anybody ever tell me what that was? A stem? Oh, is that what you were saying, Beth? It's a stem? Yeah, you're right. I guess it is a stem, isn't it? Yes, I think it looks like a crown. Okay, let's get our... All right, you guys, I think we're ready for some assembly now. I actually am using some liquid glue because of all of the little pieces that we have. So let's go ahead and start with the strawberries, and we'll put the stem on. Thank you, Beth, you're so smart. I'm going to just put a dot or two of the liquid glue at the top in the center there. And add the stem. That makes perfect sense. That's a stem. Okay. And I guess it doesn't matter. I'm going to flip this one over so it's going in the opposite direction as the initial one. So we have the two there. Next, I'm going to put just a little dollop of glue, towards the bottom here of each strawberry, one on one side and one on the other. And that's where I'm going to put the flower. And the flower is kind of hanging off. That's why I'm using liquid glue, because there's not a lot of connection between the two pieces of cardstock. Not only that, because there's not a lot of connection, the liquid glue will adhere a little bit better. So we have that. And then finally, I'm actually going to bring in my Stampin' Seal, and let's turn this over. Let's see. I'm going to put the stem on the opposite side of the flower. Let's turn it over so I can kind of see where I want it. I don't know how these go on, but, well, maybe I didn't want it on the opposite side. I did it on the same side with the other. That's okay. We're going to go for it. There it is. We'll put this one on the same side as the flower. A little bit of adhesive on the back here. And I'm going to turn it over so I can kind of see where I want to place the leaf. There we go. And then finally, to dress up our strawberries, we're going to add a little bit of bling. So I'll put just a rhinestone in the center of each. Okay, so now remember our designer series paper that we made, our homemade designer series paper. We have to cut this so that it fits on our Poppy Parade mat. So let's go ahead. Since this is 3 3/8 of an inch, I cut it into 3 strips that are 3 1/8 of an inch. So let's go ahead and bring in our trimmer, and I'm going to cut this. The 1/8 of an inch is the line between the 1 and the 1/4 of an inch. The one that's right in the center is the 1/8 mark. So we'll make 2 cuts, and that's it. Both of them at 1 1/8. There we go. We have our 3 little pieces. I'm going to kind of keep them in order because I want to adhere them in the same order that I cut them. And let's bring them back in. Can you guys see me go? Okay, there we go. Okay, dokie. So now to adhere these, I'm going to put the 2 outside strips on first. I'll adhere them, and then I'll kind of, that gives me room to center the middle one to try and get them as even appearing as I can. So let's go ahead and add some adhesive here. and I'm going to place it about 1/4 of an inch or so from the edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. If I can keep my adhesive going. You guys know my adhesive woes. We won't talk about those today, but you know that I have them. There we go. And then let's go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of the center strip. And then I'm going to kind of eyeball it, but I'm going to make it as even as I can on both sides. And there we go. I actually told you guys we were done with stamping. We're not. We need to do our buffalo check. So let's put this aside because that's the last thing that we have in our assembly process. Okay, so I'm going to bring my Stampin' Pierce mat back in. And then here is the buffalo check. Isn't that quite a big, hefty, chunky stamp? This is our background stamp. It's pretty chunky. And we're going to go ahead and ink it up. Oh, we don't need the Stampin' Pierce. The red rubber, can you see that? There's foam on it. So we have the cushion that we need there. So let's go ahead and bring in our Poppy Parade, and I am going to stamp or ink it up upside down so that I'm sure that I cover the entire surface. The piece of cardstock that we're stamping on is not as big as the background stamp, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to lay it. Now, when I do background stamps, I like to leave the stamp face up, especially for the buffalo check, because there are lines on it and you don't want your lines to be crooked. You want them to be as straight as you can get them to be. So I'm going to leave it face up, and I'm going to take my piece of cardstock and kind of line it up. I'm going to pick a spot to line it up and drop it on one side. Uh-oh, I didn't put it high enough. Let's turn it right over. So I'll line it up, I'll drop it, and then I'll take a piece of grid paper or another piece of scrap paper, cover it up, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of burnish the image on, to kind of press it on. I'm just going to rub all around the stamp. Whoops. Whoa, I hope I didn't move it. I'm trying to hold the cardstock beneath of it in place. All right, let's see how we did, guys. I hope it's okay. We'll see. I'll go ahead and lift it up. I moved it a little bit, you see that? But for the most part, this is what happened. This is a very versatile, you can do this in any color. It makes a fantastic background. I have my fingers a little bit inky here. Let's see if I can wipe them off. Red ink gets everywhere. Okay, now let's bring the rest of our components in, and we'll just do some assembly, and then our card is done. So I'm going to start by adhering this flat to our Pear Pizzazz mat. Add a little bit of adhesive here. This is the first layer. And then I'll go ahead and adhere it right to the card base. So add a little bit of adhesive here as well. Whoops, there we go. That little ink blob is going to bother me. Let's see if I can cover it up. Nah. Okay, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and adhere this right to the background. Okay, and then we have our 2 decorated strawberries and our sentiment. So I'm going to put the sentiment on the basic white. I'm going to add it flat to our Pear Pizzazz oval, and then I'll put some dimensionals. No, I'm not going to put dimensionals. I'm going to add this flat as well. Right in the center. And it's kind of crooked. Oh, well, we'll leave it. Okay, so I want this hanging off of the mat just slightly at the bottom. Maybe like a 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 an inch from the bottom, but I don't want to put it too far off because I don't want it to hang off the bottom of the card. And then I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of the mat, and then we'll adhere that to the front of the card. So let's do that. I'm going to plop it right down in the center. Right down in the center of the card, which is something that I like to do a lot when I'm using mats. I like to put them in the center. I don't know why. It's just that's what appeals to me. So that's kind of what I do. There we go. And then we'll embellish it a little bit with our strawberries. So I'll kind of see how they go on here the best. Hey, you know what? I'm going to kind of put them like that, and then I can cover my boo-boo. Did you see that? So if you make a boo-boo, oftentimes there are ways to fix it. So I'm going to use 2 Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of each strawberry. And this one I'm going to kind of hang it over because I am covering my faux pas, if you will. Let's grab a couple of more for our second strawberry. So do you guys think that this looks like, does it look like a label for strawberry preserves? That's what I thought that it looked like. Let's see, let's put it here, kind of overlapping. All right, and then there's our completed card. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for the hearts and the likes. Thank you, thank you. So do you like it? I think it looks like a strawberry jam label. That's why I chose the color. So yes, thank you so much. Here's our original. I told you guys there's lots of steps to this little card. It's not that it's difficult, but it's really busy. I think the most challenging portion of this is just making sure that when you're using your background stamp, and I kind of stamp most of my background stamps the same way. I'll leave it face up, I ink it, and then I put the paper, the cardstock on the stamp, and then rub it to get the ink onto it. I find that to be the easiest way and the best way to control the placement. So all right, you guys, let's go ahead and get you turned up so I can say thank you again and good night. And let's keep you in place. I don't want to drop you on your heads again tonight like I will. Also put a link to the online store if you need to shop for anything, if you need supplies. Or anything, I'll get that up there for you too. And I hope you liked tonight's project. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for letting me come into your home and share with you. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. Same place, same time with something else crafty. So thank you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.